Hey people, welcome to the Run Test. It's Kieran here, and in this video we're going to be looking at this. This is the brand new Suunto 9 Peak Pro. We've been able to take it out for a first test ahead of its launch, and in this video we're going to tell you what's new about this watch and also what we made of it with our first run impression, so watch on. So let's rattle through some quick details then. Well, the first big kind of headline on this is the first watch to have its carbon footprint calculated and offset. This is the first one we've encountered. It's got a total life cycle CO2 emissions of 7.5 kilograms according to Suunto, and all of that has been offset. So this is an energy kind of neutral watch. In terms of design, it's got a 1.2-inch sapphire glass touchscreen display. You're still getting a fairly big bezel on that compared to some watches out there. In terms of weight, there are two varieties here. The titanium comes in at 55 grams, while the steel comes in at 64 grams. You're also going to get interchangeable 22mm straps. Durability, it's waterproof to 100 meters, and it's also been tested to military grade durability standards, MIL STD 810H. Sensor-wise, you're getting a heart rate sensor built in, 4-system GPS, you get a barometric sensor, and also SpO2 blood oxygen sensor in there too. In terms of battery life, there are 3 battery modes. The on-paper staying power is listed as 21 days for general daily use. In performance mode, that's the kind of fullest sort of GPS mode, you're supposed to get 40 hours of runtime. That's a match for the Garmin Fenix 7. In endurance mode, slightly lower pulsing of the GPS, you're getting 70 hours. And in tour mode, that kind of ultra power saving mode, it's supposed to go for 300 hours of tracking. There's also fast charging. You get 100% battery charge in just 1 hour on the plug, or you can get 10 hours of training time from 10 minutes on charge. In terms of price, it's going to cost you £429 for the steel and £549 for the titanium. So when it comes to features then, you're essentially getting quite a lot of the stuff that you would consider to kind of be table stakes when it comes to a running watch. That includes optical heart rate zone training. You're also going to get some running form metrics like cadence and running power on the wrist. Plus, after each run, there's training load readouts, there's recovery time recommendations for each individual run. Plus, you'll get an updated VO2 max fitness level estimate based on each run. Navigation-wise, you're getting turn-by-turn, route planning and heat maps. You can also plan structured workouts in the app and sync them to the watch. And this watch is compatible with Suunto Plus Sport apps that open up a world of other kind of extra apps and features that you can download onto the watch. Beyond that, there are also things like stress and recovery tracking, activity tracking and sleep tracking. And you've got music controls for a paired smartphone device, but no offline music storage. So first up, let's kick off with the design then. I mean, there's nothing really particularly revolutionary about this watch. I mean, you're essentially getting what is, it kind of looks like a Suunto watch. It's fairly nice and compact, it's fairly slimline, it is nice and lightweight, and it does sort of sit on sort of wrists nice and compact. It will definitely kind of suit smaller wrists. The touchscreen is nice and responsive, it's pretty quick to move. I think the UI of Suunto, going to take some people some time to get to learn that. It's quite sort of complicated. I don't find it the most intuitive. Always kind of say that about Suunto watches. I think other watches have basically nailed the UI a little bit better than Suunto do. In terms of brightness and sort of visibility of the screen, it's okay. It's nothing sort of amazing to write home about. Certainly kind of nowhere near something like you'd get on the Apple Watch. I do think other kind of Garmin's now obviously as well have much kind of brighter, sharper, higher resolution screens. The other thing I don't particularly like is you've still got this sort of fairly sort of big kind of bezel around the edge of the screen here, which sort of takes up quite a lot of the sort of overall watch kind of real estate. It feels a bit old school. We've seen other watches kind of move that along where you get a bit more of an edge design. The other thing I've noticed is this screen does pick up quite a lot of fingerprints from the sort of touchscreen. And you do have to use the touchscreen as well to navigate certain points as well. Overall, sort of comfortable on the wrist. We've only tested it for a few days. In that half marathon race test, I kind of found it fairly nice to work. Where the 22mm strap here, the silicone version that it ships with that we've got, is pretty nice. You can get interchangeable straps as well, so you can find something that's a bit more to your liking if you want to change the color or perhaps the design. The other thing I'll say about the screen visibility is I think you have to have that backlight on to get the best kind of screen visibility out of this. You can change between dark and kind of light back screen, but having the backlight on for me worked better in all kind of lights, and that does drain the battery life pretty quick. But with this watch on 92% battery, when I toggled on the backlight in performance mode, that dropped the overall lifespan of this by 14 hours, which is really quite a significant cut just to have the screen being kind of more visible. So that's one, the backlight is going to drain it, and I think you do need it. So battery life wise, in my test, the 9 Peak Pro lasted less than 2 days. I took it off the charger at 9 AM on a Saturday morning, and then by 8 PM on the Sunday evening it was dead. That included a 1.5 hour marathon race test. That race test itself burnt through 20% of the watch battery with full GPS mode on. And again, that's not great. I mean, 2 days isn't right. It doesn't feel right. I want to do more testing on that because that just feels too low to me. Now, I don't know whether that's, I had the backlight on, so maybe that's a backlight effect, but that's a long way off the 40 hours of GPS runtime that you're supposed to get, and the longer, much longer kind of general daily usage that you're supposed to be able to get out of this watch. So it feels like something's not quite right there. Now, I will say I do like the fact that you can sort of toggle between those kind of modes, and you can see the battery life predictions in those modes. That's always been something that I think Suunto have been good for. You get it on other watches now, but I think they were the first people to do that. The other thing, you can create custom battery modes in this watch. So you can go in and you can, or at least you can create one custom battery mode in this watch, tell it what you want on and off. The only problem is that some of the settings there are quite limited. If you go into kind of performance mode and endurance mode, it shows you all of the things that it's switching off in order to eke out that extra battery life. And there's quite a lot of things like optical heart rate off, or Bluetooth off, notifications coming through, vibrations on or off. Unfortunately, when you're setting a custom battery mode, you don't have as much options there. You only get to choose between touchscreen on or off, display kind of timeout, and the GPS accuracy. It's a shame that you can't tweak all of those other kind of areas to get the kind of, to fine tune your own sort of battery preferences, but also then save those custom profiles so that you can come back to them later on. Maybe in different conditions you want to have different battery settings. So good on the one hand, there's a few things that I think it could be improved on the other. When it came to heart rate performance of the optical sensor, I put this up against a Garmin HRM Pro chest strap, and actually on that half marathon race test that I did, it matched it pretty much beat for beat. So the maxes and the averages came out exactly the same, and if you look at the charts, the rises and falls, they're pretty much bang on in terms of that comparison. And with the Suunto 9 Peak Pro, there didn't seem to be any of those kind of crazy spikes and aberrations that you sometimes get. So heart rate performance, actually, I was pretty impressed. It's only just one sort of small test. We only got to do one run with this because we've only had it for a limited time. But first impressions, the heart rate was pretty solid performance here. Similarly, the GPS performance was really solid as well. Again, tested it over one race, put it in full GPS mode, so in performance mode, up against Garmin Fenix 7 and also the Apple Watch Ultra. This one actually came in over the half race marathon, this is a marked race course. It came in at 13.24 miles, so pretty much spot on. It actually performed better than the Fenix 7 and better than the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch was a bit over, the Fenix was a bit under. This one was pretty much bang on. So yeah, that was all good. Again, go into the detail looking at the maps afterwards. There's no kind of crazy sort of bits of me running through buildings, and this was a kind of London City marathon, so some of it not the easiest necessarily GPS conditions in urban landscape, but from that early test, I think this has done really pretty well. So be interested to test more of it, but so far so good on that front. And obviously we're going to want to test the lower power modes, which kind of have sort of lesser kind of GPS performance, and see how they get on in our later tests for the full review. So we will do that as well. So the verdict then, well, the caveat here, full transparency, I mean, we've had this watch for about 4 days, and we've only done kind of one run test and then lived with it for the other 4 days looking at the overall battery life. So there's a huge amount here that we haven't tested. So don't really want to give a full verdict on this. Things like the navigation, the turn by turn, I mean, they look pretty similar to what we would find on the Suunto 5 Peak that we tested a while back. There's not a lot that's new here in terms of overall kind of software and features. So that's the one thing, if you're expecting a watch that's going to really sort of change the game for Suunto and maybe bring it sort of bang up to date and in line with some of the other competitors, I don't think this watch on first impressions is going to be it. And I guess one of the biggest concerns really is that upgrade from the 25 hours full GPS that you would get on the Suunto 9 Peak to the 40 hours you're supposed to get on the Peak Pro hasn't really borne out in our early test. We'll have to do more testing to check that out, but that's one of the big kind of maybe flags that you're maybe not going to get that full battery life. So whether the upgrade is necessary, we will come back to you in the full review. The rapid charge feature though we do love, and also we're big fans of the fact that Suunto has sort of tried to break new ground by being transparent about those carbon emissions. That's something that I think all watch brands should sort of take forward and get on board with. We'd like to see that. Now, when it comes to kind of price and value for money, the other thing that's going to sort of maybe hamper the Suunto 9 Peak Pro is that price tag. This is going to come up against some kind of really quite stiff competition. Not only have you got the Polar Vantage V2 at that kind of price point, you can pick up a Chorus Vertix 2 for just sort of £50 more. And you're even looking at a Garmin Forerunner 945, which has a battery life that's a little bit shorter than that, but that's in and around the same kind of price ballpark. So there's a lot of stiff competition here. And first impressions, has Suunto got enough in terms of software, hardware, look and feel, all of those things to really make this the kind of leap that I think everybody feels Suunto really needs to be making to become sort of super competitive again? First impressions, I'm not really sure. We will obviously do more testing. We would love to hear any questions you have, anything you would like to know about this watch as we go to do our full review. Hit us up in the comments below. We will endeavour to test those out. If you have questions about what we've said so far, ask us as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's been a pleasure to talk to you about this watch, and yeah, we hope to see you again soon on the Run Testers. Thanks for watching.